how do you actually know when your mix is ready for release? 20 different project files, all with different numbers after them. You've gone through all this effort and the last thing you want to do is throw it all away and mess it up at the last minute. So this is the 12-step checklist I've used for the past 25 years and has helped our accelerator students do the same and accrue over 250 million streams. And you can download it for free below this video and just check off the points every track you finish. Now we're going to go from conceptual ideas all the way through to technical checks, and all of these are vitally important to make sure that your mix is actually ready for release. The first point is simply to duplicate your project before you start mixing. This is so when you've done your mix, you can actually compare it to the original and decide whether you've done something better or just different. So many times I've mixed a track and I've spent 10 hours on it only to realize that the original was better because I just lost objectivity. So something I also recommend doing is just export that original track as well, because then you can bring it into your mix session on a separate track and just A/B test the two. And that really touches upon what point 2 is, which is for every mixing move you make, ask yourself, does this sound better or does it just sound different? It's really easy once you learn some advanced techniques to kind of overuse them. So you might end up oversaturating or overcompressing certain things. And actually, I think this is a pain that will always be with you when it comes to music production or art of any sort. Sometimes you've got to be brutally honest with yourself and say, is this better? And the more skilled you get at production, the more you're likely to suffer from sunk cost fallacy, which basically means if you spend a long time over something, you're more reluctant to give it up and revert back to the original. Now, technically, the way that you can do that is to make sure that you've got your gain staging and volume matching in place. And all that really means is whenever you're doing a mixing move, make sure the volume coming out of your mixing chain is similar to before you've done the changes. And that means when you bypass the effects you can put on, your ears aren't going to just tell you it sounds better because it might be louder, and you're going to actually be able to analyze the difference in tone and color of the sound rather than just the volume. And this really all ties into the third point that we're going to go into, and this is probably one of the most important. Make sure you have an intention for every mixing move you do. For example, rather than just boosting a certain frequency because it sounds good, ask yourself why you're doing it. Maybe your vocals aren't popping out the mix enough and you want them to, and that's an example of having an intention before you actually make the move. But that brings us to an even bigger question, which is how do you even know if your vocals are popping out the mix enough? So here are a couple of technical tools you can use to even get to the point when you're asking these questions. The first is to simply use a reference track. That is to say, a track in a very similar style to the music that you're mixing, so you can compare yours to that to help hear where yours might be lacking. Now, an important point to do when you bring in a reference track is to consider that that's already been mastered, whereas your track hasn't. And that means we need to bring the volume down of the reference track so we can compare it to our track, again without falling into that trap of just thinking that louder sounds better. Personally, I like to bring my reference track down by 12 decibels, and then I set my kick, regardless of genre, peaking at -12, and that's going to give me a good basis to start my mix from. And we're going to touch more upon the technicalities of using a reference track in a couple of points' time. So let's get to point 4, which is a matter of suitability. Now, from a personal standpoint, my musical background is quite broad. I've been in rock bands playing keyboards. I've mixed various different genres of music that aren't even in the electronic realm. And of course, I've produced, mixed and mastered electronic music both for myself and record labels for the past 25 years. Something I've learned is that different genres of music are going to have different degrees of these mixing techniques applied. Case in point, if I'm producing a really highly polished pop track like Ariana Grande or something like that, that's usually going to want more time spent on it and a more highly polished finished version than an underground techno track. And actually, if you were to polish that techno track to the same degree as you would the pop track, it would lose some of the character. So another question to ask yourself is this mix suitable for the style of music I'm making? And that really takes us onto point number 5, which is, does this make me feel something? Am I getting an emotional response when I listen to this mix? If the answer is yes, and it's the right kind of emotion, that's a good indicator you're on the right track. But if it feels dull and lifeless or over-polished, you might have gone too far. And that takes us on to our next point, which is simply to give yourself time. You could be the best mixing engineer in the world, but if you've been working on a project, you are going to lose objectivity. Your ears get desensitized, they get used to the sound, so it's important we give ourselves time to reset our hearing and regain some of that objectivity. The easiest way to do that is when you think you've finished your mix, just give yourself a couple of days rest, and then come back to that mix with fresh ears, a post-it note and a pen, and as soon as you listen through through on that first time, make any notes of changes you think need to be made so you can get to it and make those tweaks. Now, this next point is something that I definitely know you struggle with, which is making sure that your mix can translate on various different systems. You know what it's like when you listen to your mix in the studio or on your headphones and you think, oh, this sounds great. But as soon as you get it into your car, it just sounds like absolute muck. This is because your listening or mixing environment is set up in a different way from other systems in the world, almost by definition. Some will accentuate certain frequencies, others won't be able to recreate certain frequencies, especially if it's small speakers and you're wanting to translate the low end. So we need to make sure our mix sounds good across all these different systems. Now, the best way to do it is to listen to a lot of your favorite music on several different systems, and then export your mix and listen to it on those same systems, again comparing it to the reference track. Now, this is really quite time consuming, so you can use tools like Mix Checker Pro, which is simply a plugin that you can put on your master channel to replicate listening to it in different environments, and then you can make tweaks accordingly. One of the most important one usually being that you can hear your bass on smaller systems, and that usually involves adding some harmonics and having a mid bass pop through the mix. Another little bonus tip I want to throw in is if you listen to your mix at low volumes, are the most important elements audible? That's usually going to be the kick and the snare, the main vocals and the bass. Now, all of that's very easy to say, and one of the biggest pieces of mixing advice that really gets my goat is to simply trust your ears. Now, that's fine if your ears are developed and they're well rested and you've had lots and lots of practice, but what if you aren't in that situation? Is there another way that we can test our mixes and make sure we're on the right path? And the answer is yes. By using our reference track and setting it up properly, you can compare 3 different things. You can compare the frequency spread to see if your balance is more or less where it should be for that genre of music. You can compare the average loudness, but that's something that's kind of more useful in the mastering stage, and you can compare the stereo spread as well, using a vector scope. And let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video about knowing when your master's ready. Personally, I find these visual checks to be an absolute game changer, to the degree that I can actually fix students' mixes without even hearing them. Yes, it's because I've had a lot of practice, but a lot of it is down to these visual checks. I know I'm going to get some hate for that. So now we get on to the final 3 points, and these are more holistic, if you will. The first is simply to seek feedback from someone who knows what they're listening for. This could be done in an online community or an online school, or you might know some mixing engineers in real life that you trust enough to be able to give you some accurate feedback. And I know a lot of famous producers that will still send their music to other producers they respect just to get a final check and get their opinion. Again, because it's easy to lose objectivity. And once you've done all that, I like to do what I call a DJ test. And this is where you bring a couple of your reference tracks into another DAW project, but you've exported your mix and you also bring that in. You might want to put a limiter on your master channel first just to get the loudness up and comparable, but then just arrange those 3 tracks so it blends from one reference track into yours, into another reference track. And just listen, does it sound like yours fits into that progression? If it's like 95% of the way there, you're absolutely golden. If it's 70% of the way there, you might want to revisit that mix using some of the earlier techniques we've talked about. And I'm going to share with you my most powerful mixing tips in a couple of minutes. But the final question you got to ask yourself is, are you confident in releasing this into the world? It's not going to be perfect, and you have to be okay with that. In a couple of years, you are going to listen back to that track and think, oh, I'd have done that differently, or I'd have changed that. And that's good. That shows that you're getting better. And something that I find really helps is to have deadlines. If you've got a record label waiting on you, or a studio partner, or you've given yourself your own deadline, that will stop you spinning your wheels and allowing fear to stop you releasing it into the world. So if that's what we're doing to check whether our mix is ready, how do we actually create the mix in the first place? Well, I've put a video here that shares 14 of my most powerful mixing tips that I've discovered over the last 25 years that will absolutely transform your mixes in a matter of minutes. But before you head over there, if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thanks, and I'll catch you over at this next video where we're going to get your mixes sounding amazing in just a couple of minutes.